What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Didn't Ask podcast. As always, I'm your host, Djimon, and today I will be diving back into the world of Reddit to see what the people asked Reddit and didn't ask me. How has everybody's week been? Have you been listening to my podcasts? If you haven't, please go back on this podcast feed and listen to the older episodes of the show. This is episode 20, so there are 19 other episodes for you to listen to. You can find those episodes at anchor.fm/didn't-ask-pod, and you can see all the episodes there. I also have a YouTube channel. I don't bring this up very often, but you can go to Didn't Ask Podcast on YouTube and find half of the episodes that I've done for you to see on your TV or on your phone or whatever. The background is a bit static, you know what I mean? It's one of those cool moving things. There is no full video, but maybe in the future. Who knows? Now, what I would also like to say up front, this podcast is recorded a little earlier than I would normally do, but that is because tomorrow, for me recording this, yesterday when you're listening to this, is my birthday. So I was like, we're going to do the podcast a little earlier so I can take the day off on my birthday and just celebrate the whole day. But that does mean that the questions may not be as topical as they could be, but I still think that there are some fun topical questions in there today that I can answer with a fun way. Now, enough with the blabber and the whole rigmarole up front. Let's jump right into the first question of today. And this one was asked by user couch_liquor. Great. What should you never do on a first date? And well, the first answer is lick your couch, because that's not a good sign for your date of the night. So I have said this in the past before, but I am not really a person. I have, never been in a relationship, like a real relationship, and I've never really dated. But I have watched a lot of first dates and a lot of other dating shows on TV. So I feel like I have observed some things that you don't want to do. And again, there are many just generic things that you shouldn't do in public and especially not on a date. So here it goes. What should you never do on a first date? Specifically on a first date, you want to pay as much attention to your date as possible, which means put your phone away, maybe even put it on silent so you're not distracted by the buzzing of your phone constantly. The second thing to do is be polite, of course, but don't try and plan things for your date as much. So if you're going to have some dinner or something like that, don't be like, don't pick for the person. You don't really know the person, I'm assuming, because this is a first date. So don't pick anything that you think that, they might like that. Don't do that because you don't really know them as well. The third thing is don't eat too much, because this is a thing that you may overlook. But if you're, like I said, if you're going to go for a dinner or whatever, you much rather eat too little and eat at home when you get there instead of eating too much. Because if you eat too much, you're gonna feel bloated and you're not gonna look cool. And especially for the women, especially if you're thinking about maybe taking this date a little further, you're going for a second round, maybe a third round, if you know what I'm saying. You want to look your best, so don't eat too much. Try and stay on the maybe a little lighter side when you're having dinner. And make sure that you're paying attention to your date, because that's very important. I think that those are... Oh, wait, of course, you shouldn't talk over your date unless it's funny and you think you're like, this is funny to interject here, but make sure that everybody gets to do their thing. Don't assume anything. That's also like a really important thing to do, or not to, whatever. Don't assume things. Just ask questions and listen to the answer. Like, really listen. Really listen, because this is very important, because this could be the future of you two. And if you want to be together, you want to know what is going on with each other. So, couch laker, what should you never do on a first date? Like I said, you don't want to be on your phone constantly. So, turn that thing on silent, preferably so you don't even feel the buzzing. And then when you go to the bathroom or something, you can check your phone. You want to make sure that you don't eat too much. You want to stay looking good. You don't want to feel bloated. You don't want to get stomach pain. So don't eat too much. Make sure that it's reasonable. Don't assume anything. And it goes by the food that you're eating and try to force on her that, like, oh yeah, she probably likes this, so let's just order that. No, 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 no. Let the girl order. Make sure that she feels comfortable, or let your date order, I should say, because who knows. Make sure that the person feels comfortable, and you're making sure that it doesn't matter what she orders, whatever. I wouldn't argue about the bill. If you go like, hey, I want to pay, and the girl goes, let's split it. And then you go, are you sure? And she goes, yes, split the bill. You don't want to argue about that shit, especially if it's not necessary. But that's basically the most important things that I've mentioned. So, Couch Laker, thank you for your question. Moving on to the second question of today. And this one is a bit on the edge, but I think it's an interesting question. And this comes from user I am Glenn, and they ask, what famous quote is really bad if it's said by Hitler? And this is what I'm saying. This is a bit on the edge, but I think there are some interesting quotes you can pick and put in this situation. And my thought immediately went to the quote by Neil Armstrong. This is one small step for man and a huge step for mankind. Especially considering, of course, what Hitler has done in his past. That's a painful quote to connect to that moment. I really want to look through the comments of this real quick because I think there could be some gems in here. Somebody said, when you can't make them see the light, make them feel the heat. And that one is, that's painful. Oh, somebody saying, those are rookie numbers, which that's indeed also a very interesting quote to place on the mouth of Hitler. Oh, okay. I think we have a winner for today. This one coming from Philanchbird. I don't know. And they said, don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. And yeah, that is horrible if that will come from Hitler. But it is, he did the assignment and he won that day. So congratulations. And thank you, I am Glenn, for your question. What famous quote is really bad if it's said by Hitler? And the one that I just mentioned, don't cry because it's over, laugh because it happened. That one is that one is harsh. So thanks again. Okay, now moving on to some lighter things. And this one coming from user Neon Runaway. And they ask, if you could add any sport, no matter how ridiculous, to the Olympics, which sport would you pick? And there are, of course, especially coming from this question, saying that no matter how ridiculous, there are some ridiculous things we can add. But I would like to be serious for a second and really want MMA to be a part of the Olympics. UFC has taken over. It is one of the biggest sports out there, and I feel like, the Olympics is working on getting modern. They're adding surfboarding, they're adding skateboarding, if they have added now, because it has been going on. And those sports are really cool, and they're for a more younger audience. I believe that the youngest ever to compete at the Summer Olympics is right now a 13-year-old skateboarder from the UK, which is really cool. And doing that, I feel like, yeah, there are some other sports that we can add to the Olympics to encourage younger people to compete. And one of them would be MMA. Just add MMA. We already have boxing, we have taekwondo, we have judo, and basically all those combined, that is MMA. So I feel like there is a great opportunity for the Olympics to add the official MMA class to the Olympics and, like I said, attract a younger audience, but also keep things moving and keep things entertaining. I myself would also love to have some more dancing related things. Probably the easiest one to add is breakdancing because there are many breakdance competitions like the Red Bull thing that's going on every year. But yeah, I feel like the Olympics has the opportunity here too to add some younger audiences, and adding dance to that would be really cool. Because, of course, in the Winter Olympics, you have figure skating and stuff like that. And with the Summer Olympics, you have more the gymnastic side. But I feel like we can actually add, like I said, breakdancing to the Olympics, and that would be very awesome. And there could be some cool things that come out of that. Now, the one ridiculous thing that I would like to add is professional wrestling. I have said this on this podcast many times before, but I'm a big fan of professional wrestling. And I also think that professional wrestling could be an interesting sport to add to the Olympics. And no, it's not going to be a MMA boxing style thing where it's one country versus another. No, we're going to have a couple of matches from every country, and they have to do a certain amount of moves and certain amount of things and whatever, so that it's more like figure skating or more like a gymnastics, like a mat based thing. I'm saying this very wrong, but just imagine figure skating, but then it's wrestling. And that's what I'm thinking, that could be a good, cool thing to do, where you have the judges judging timing and match flow and crowd reaction and stuff like that you can take into consideration while doing the professional wrestling. So I think that would also be a very interesting sport and a little bit more of a ridiculous sport to add. So, user Neon Runaway, if you could add any sport, no matter how ridiculous, to the Olympics, which sport would you pick? And for one, I want to pick MMA because I feel like MMA is one of the biggest sports in the world right now, and it is not represented at the Olympics. While we do have boxing and stuff like that, and I feel like MMA is a very easy sport to add because we have rules, and it's very easy when you can have weight classes and have certain fighters come out on those weight classes. So I think that would be a cool thing. I would like to add some dance related stuff, mostly breakdance, so that we can have b-boys from all over the place and competing at the Olympics for that gold medal. And then thirdly, I would like to see professional wrestling added as more of a figure skating type event where judges score on certain points, like I said, momentum, smoothness, crowd reaction, high spots, false finishes, and you name it. I think those would be fun to add to the Olympics. So thank you for your question. Moving on to the penultimate question for the Ask Reddit subreddit for today. And this one coming from user deleted. So this person couldn't take the heat and got out of the kitchen. And they ask, what is a song you love and listen to 10 times over without getting tired of it? And for me, it's all dependent on everything surrounding the song, because songs, of course, point to memories. And right now, one of my favorite songs of the moment is Tommy T. And it is it's kind of like a parody type song, but it's not because it's very seriously written. But it is based on a character from a GTA role playing server called Tommy T, or Tommy Tate in full. And they made a song, and it's a banger. Don't know about me, I'm Tommy T. It's fantastic, and I've listened to that song so many times, but I still would love to listen to it. Staying in the same realm, I have to give a shout out to Mini Minter and Randy also known as Simon and Randolph, who release also like more like jokey songs, but they did a song called Animation, and it's really cool because every line that they rap has a reference to a cartoon or animation movie or Disney property or whatever in it. So it's such a fun thing to listen to when you hear, I don't know, Mia Simba getting loose, Puma getting bacon, shit like that. There are so many fun lines, and I listen to that song every time, and every time you discover a new reference when you listen to it, and it's such a cool song. Now, going to some, I don't want to say actual songs, but more standard songs, I should say. Never really get tired of listening to Usher's Confessions album. I have listened to that album since it basically came out in 2004, and ever since then I have listened to that album, and all the songs on there are so good, and I listen to them quite often. Right now, also, KSI released his new album last week, or is it like a week and a half ago, I guess? And one of the songs on the album is called Gang Gang with Dino and J1, and that song I've listened to since it came out basically every day, and I am still not sick of that song. That song is so cool and it's such a nice vibe to it. So, answer the question properly, what is a song you love and listen to 10 times over without getting tired of it? I would say KSI, J1, Dino, Gang Gang is right now on that list. Basically, Usher's whole Confessions album has to come on that list because I've listened to it since it came out. And then right now it's Tommy T by Wicked and Animation by Mini Minter and Randy. Those four songs right now would be the songs I could listen to all day and not get tired of. So thank you for your question, redacted, because you deleted your account. And now, the final question of the Ask Reddit for today. What is your favorite trash TV show? And oh my. This also gives me another opportunity to plug my blog, blog.djimontete.nl, and on that blog, I did a trash TV list because I'm a big fan of trash TV. I've grown up with trash TV, watched The Kardashians since it first came on TV, and ever since then, I've been hooked. So, right now, I've gotten very much into Below Deck. And Below Deck is such a fun and interesting way to spend my time. There are right now 16 seasons, I believe, something like that. There are 7 seasons of Below Deck, 6 seasons of Below Deck Med, and 2 seasons of Below Deck Sailing Yacht, and then 1 season of Below Deck Galley Talk. So that would make it 16, I guess. I don't know. You do the math. But it's fantastic. It's such an interesting way to look at an industry that you would normally not really get a view of. And for those of you that don't know, Below Deck is a show where you go on a luxury yacht, a motor yacht, and you basically follow the cast and crew of that boat. So you see the captain and what the captain is doing, not so much though, because it's the captain and the captain has very important things to do. But you see like the bosun and the deckhands and the stewardesses making sure that the guests that come on the boat have the greatest time of their lives and that they get what they paid for. And motor yacht trips are very expensive, and you're looking forward to every time that the guests go off the boat, that the tip that they leave behind is up to par, and that the crew has worked their asses off to provide the best holiday for the guests that come on board. So I have to mention Below Deck because it's fantastic. I also like to mention Storage Wars, because Storage Wars is such a fun pastime. You can just sit back and enjoy every moment of that show where you, of course, have the bidding phase where you have the cast members going bidding up against each other and yelling things, and it's so much fun. But then diving into the lockers with them, seeing what the people get out of it, and then them finding something that looks very interesting and then hoping that it's worth a lot of money so that they can get the money back for the locker. But then it being worth nothing, or actually the opposite, where it's worth so much money. Those things are so fun to watch, and it's such a good way to spend your time. Because, like I said, it's just an easy watch. You just sit back and you see what the people are doing and bidding up against each other, and it's so much fun. And so many fun things could happen where, things fall out of the storage locker, or it smells really badly, and the people are reacting to that. And there are so many fun things that could happen during that shows. And it's not the greatest show, but man, it's so much fun to watch. So, user Muncie, what was your favorite trash TV show? I mean, is for sure. And it's Below Deck with all its subsidiaries, and Storage Wars, because both those shows are so much fun, and you can just sit back and relax watching those shows. So, thank you for your question. And now we will go to the final question for today. And this one, of course, coming from the Am I the Asshole subreddit, coming from user Hollandaise Crab Cake. And they ask, am I the asshole for not answering work emails while on vacation, resulting in the loss of a client? My husband and I took a much needed vacation to the beach last week, and the entire week before we left, I sent emails around letting everyone know I'd be completely inaccessible for the weeks to come and see me for any work materials needed, files, etc. I gave everyone everything I knew or thought they'd need, and left confident that everyone had prepared themselves, seeing as I'd given them 8 days to prepare. When I returned, I found chaos in the office. Apparently, one of my colleagues had needed files for a particular important client of ours and had not been able to find them in my office, and I never responded to calls or emails, as I warned I wouldn't do. This coworker knew they'd be handling this client and had 8 days and 12 hours a day to ask me for all pertinent files, and appears to have not. In any case, I was blamed because the client is technically mine and I'm the supervisor of this coworker. I contend that I am blameless because this coworker had 8 days to collect all their files, like their other coworkers did, and they neglected to do so. No one seems to care about that. Am I the asshole here? And we can be long and short in this, but I would say you're not the asshole. You did your due diligence. You have said, hey, I am not here. I am gone. I'm not going to answer any calls or emails or whatever. And yes, they had the ability to ask you questions and files and whatever in the days before you left. That being said, I will say that sometimes, for me especially, like I know how things go because I work PR, and I have worked PR in the past, and I'm working PR now. And there are certain moments when you think you know all the things you need to know, but then the client comes with a weird request, or you found out that, oh shit, I needed this file and I didn't ask for that because I didn't know I needed it. So in that case, I don't really want to fully blame your coworker for neglecting the job she had to do, because sometimes there are other things that happen. So you can say, hey, I'm going to prepare you for A to Z, but when double A happens, you are not prepared for that. Because sometimes you just think about, oh, these are the set steps that can happen, so I'm going to prepare you for that. But sometimes, the people go against the grain, and resulting in, like in this case, your coworker not having the file that she needed, even though she had the chance to ask for those files. But again, you don't know how that went. But coming back to you, user hollandaise crab cake. Am I the asshole for not answering work emails while on vacation, resulting in the loss of a client? No, you're not the asshole. You have done, like I said, you have done your due diligence in saying, hey, I'm going to be out of the office for the next couple of days. If you need anything, you can ask me now before I leave, because when I leave, I'm not going to answer any work emails. So you have done as much as you could in this situation. Does it suck? Sure. Is the coworker to blame? Maybe a little, but I would say not totally, fully. But for the most part, I think the whole situation just sucks. You're clearly not the asshole, and the client leaving after 8 days seems a bit much to me, because couldn't they just waited for a couple of days and till you get back and then fix the problem that way? But yeah, that may be a little bit hard, but to me, you're not the asshole hollandaise crab cake. And again, I would say that the coworker is not fully to blame, because like I said, there are certain times where you think you have all the information you need and then you realize that, oh shit, I forgot something. But again, you're not to blame in this situation. And that has been it for the Didn't Ask podcast for this week. I hope you had a good time, and I hope that the questions may have helped you in some sort of way. If you yourself have a question to ask me, you can go to anchor.fm/didn't-ask-pod. There you will find a button that you can press to record a voice recording of you asking your question. That question can then be spliced into the show so you can hear your voice. If you don't want that, I totally understand that. Just mention upfront that you don't want your voice to be heard, and I will just read the question out as I would normally do, so I can still answer your question for you. I will be back next week, and in the meantime, you can see what I'm watching thanks to track.tv. That link will be in the show description as always. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.